So let me say this to my MAGA Republican friends in Congress. Don't tell me you support law enforcement if you won't condemn what happened on the 6th. Don't tell me. Can't do it. For God's sake, whose side are you on? Whose side are you on? And now it's sickening to see the new attacks on the FBI, threatening the life of law enforcement agents and their families for simply carrying out the law and doing their job. Look, I want to say this as clear as I can. There's no place in this country, no place, for endangering the lives of law enforcement. No place. None, never, period. I'm opposed to defunding the police. I'm also opposed to defunding the FBI.
President Biden condemning the attacks on the FBI after the search of Mar-a-Lago. We will have much more on the president's remarks, which came just hours before we got stunning new details overnight about why the Justice Department felt it had no choice but to seize classified documents from the president's Florida estate and club, including evidence that some of the documents were likely moved and hidden. We'll have the many new revelations from the late-night court filing. Also this hour, remembering Mikhail Gorbachev, the final leader of the Soviet Union, a reformer who lifted the Iron Curtain and helped to end the Cold War. Good morning and welcome to Morning Joe. It is Wednesday, August 31st. Along with Joe, Willie, and me, we have the host of Way Too Early and White House bureau chief at Politico, author of The Big Lie, Jonathan Lemire. President of the National Action Network and host of Politics Nation, Reverend Al Sharpton, and Washington bureau chief for USA Today, Susan Page. And in light of the new revelations, Joe, that happened through the DOJ late last night, President Biden's remarks seem to really be cutting through.
Well, they really do. And it's always fascinating. By the way, this is one of those mornings I would have just absolutely loved to hear your father's take on Mikhail Gorbachev. I know, obviously, you knew him and dealt with him. We do have David Ignatius, a good friend of your dad's, who's going to be on here. Also, Admiral Stavridis, obviously someone that your father had great respect for, going to be here talking about that, as well as things turning around in Ukraine.
In a big way,
it's pretty extraordinary. But, you know, Willie, there's a time in a game, basketball game, you can just see it on the court happening. Football game, soccer, and in politics. I've always noticed it in politics. I'm sure you have too, where momentum shifts in a very significant way. And again, we're still a long way off until the elections. I'm not saying that Republicans aren't going to have a historic year. They should. But last night was Joe Biden and the Democratic Party off their heels for the first time, I think, since 2020, and actually leaning in, going on the offensive, telling Republicans, Joe Biden saying, not only am I not for defunding the police, I'm not for defunding the FBI. And the words that will break through to independents who are looking at this MAGA Republican Party and understanding they're so disconnected from the most basic of American values when it comes to patriotism, whether it's January the 6th or threatening the lives of law enforcement officers and their families for just carrying out a lawful search. That question that just rings in the ears of so many Americans, for God's sake, whose side are you on? And it's interesting. He addressed these words not to Republicans across the nation, not to super MAGA Republicans across the nation, but to those in Congress, to Republican leaders. You know, it used to be that somebody would say something on the left or the right that would be a crackpot statement, and then everybody would rush and go, oh, my God, look what all Democrats are saying, or oh, my God, look what all Republicans are saying. And it would be some insignificant figure. Joe Biden is now telling the truth that Americans are starting to understand that this extremism, this is coming actually from leaders. This is coming from Republican members of Congress who are calling law enforcement officers the Gestapo, who are calling law enforcement officers communists. Republican leaders and thought leaders calling law enforcement officers wolves who want to devour you. Defund the FBI? No. Defund police? Absolutely not. And at the same time, Joe Biden is giving a speech to Main Street America, to Main Street Pennsylvania, about backing the FBI and backing law enforcement officers, and just how crazy the Republican Party's done and doing. What's Donald Trump doing? He is circulating QAnon conspiracy theories on social media. QAnon conspiracy theories on the same day Joe Biden is saying, bring it in, Republicans. You all are being extremists. Come on. This is
a turning point.
This is a turning point, and all of those people that have been lying about the DOJ and FBI on this search, we're going to get to the news in a second. That's going to change as well. It's funny, Alex Corson, our EP before, said that he had read a tweet yesterday that said the news was so bad last night that somebody had tweeted out, all right, pay attention, because now we're going to hear a lot about Hunter Biden's laptop or caravans coming in from Mexico. And sure enough, on cue, here we go. New York Post talking about those caravans that for some reason only come up every 2 years around election time. And by the way, John Heilman called me the morning you remember when the Trump people, like, actually literally every 2 years around election time, or when Donald Trump's in trouble, every 2 years. I mean, you could write that story every day, every 2 years, because there's chaos on the southern border, and we've been saying it here. But you know, Willie, it's just like, you know, John Heilman called me up the morning that the word got around that Trump people said, hey, you know what, I'd be quiet. This stuff is a little worse than we expected at Mar-a-Lago. Don't get too out front there. Suddenly, this IRS lie. That morning, he said, do you see what they're doing now? They're spreading lies about IRS agents going around with automatic weapons, shooting people in Middle America, because they've got to change the subject. That's what's happening before our eyes. And you see it right there on the Post. You'll see it all over right-wing media today.